and several PQ elected members have been saying behind Levesque's back that he should resign. Their complaints were expected to come out in the open at a PQ caucus meeting today, but they didn't. Tom Kennedy reports.
For Rennie Levesque, it was not a warm welcome. A gauntlet of provincial policemen who want a new contract. Once through, another challenge, this one from his own party. 2 weeks ago, PQ sources told CBC News that at least a dozen people around this table wanted their leader to step down. Levesque began the caucus meeting this morning by stating clearly, like it or not, I'm staying. The challenge to his leadership died there.
The 5 or 6 of those who talked after Mr. Levesque said that they were very satisfied with his decision and were very glad that he had cleared this up once and for all.
The talking is finished if any individuals don't accept the fact that Mr. Levesque is the leader of the party and is going to lead us to the next election to a victory. They just have a personal choice to make, and that is to announce that they're not going to be a candidate.
So now it's virtually certain Levesque will lead his party into the next election, which everyone expects will be this fall.
I think agreed that maybe I could still be useful. It's up to me to deserve it, that's all.
It's difficult to imagine a leadership challenge growing and then dying so quickly. One of the reasons was Levesque's flawless performance at last week's First Ministers' Conference. And then there are the public opinion polls. They show the PQ's popularity growing steadily. So Levesque is gaining strength. His critics in the party have decided it would be wise not to try to take him on. Tom Kennedy, CBC News at Mont Saint Anne, Quebec.
William Schrader and Murray Hayden waved at each other today. It was the first time two men with artificial hearts have ever seen each other. Schrader was on his way out of the hospital in Louisville, Kentucky, when he stopped at the door to Hayden's room. Schrader's wife then wheeled him outside for a short ride around the parking lot. Doctors say Schrader is recovering from his fever. His temperature this afternoon was back to normal. Steve Fogno has been ordered to take at least 1 day off from his cross-Canada run for cancer research. Fogno quit running early this afternoon on the outskirts of Brandon, Manitoba, and he went to see a doctor. He told a reporter for the Brandon Sun that he had the same kind of pain in his right leg as he had in his left leg before it was amputated because of cancer. The doctor gave Fogno anti-inflammatory drugs, had the leg x-rayed, and ordered him to rest. An official from the Cancer Society says Fogno's leg is just inflamed and that he does not have cancer. Henry Lee Lucas has already confessed to murdering 360 people in the United States. And he says he killed in Canada, too. That's what he told Calgary RCMP officers when he was interviewed 2 weeks ago in a Texas jail. Today, the RCMP held a news conference to talk about its investigation. Jane Chalmers reports.
49-year-old Henry Lee Lucas astonished RCMP homicide investigators with vivid details of several murders in Canada.
Did he admit to certain murders in Canada? I guess the answer to that is yes.
A 6-hour interview with Lucas netted RCMP what they wanted, a prime suspect in a string of unsolved murders. 3 years ago in Kamloops, British Columbia, stumped investigators met, hoping to turn up new leads in unsolved killings, including 28 trans-Canada murders. After the interview with Lucas in a Texas jail cell, RCMP believe they have significant new evidence. Between 1975 and 1983, Lucas and a companion traveled between Quebec and the Pacific coast. He's detailed killings during that time.
I did phone the RCMP when I first heard about Lucas' situation.
Cliff White is particularly interested in the turn of events. In 1976, his 18-year-old daughter, Tara, disappeared. Her body was found in a shallow grave 4 years later near Banff.
I don't know that we want all the gory details of what happened, but it would be nice to have it settled. It would be nice to know that they had found the person responsible and that was the end of it.
The RCMP also wants to know. They plan to talk again with Lucas. They also want to interview Otis Toole, his partner, who's now on Florida's death row. Jane Chalmers, CBC News, Calgary.
Several more blacks have been killed in a second day of rioting in South Africa. It's happening in Crossroads, a shanty town just outside Cape Town. The rioting began yesterday after rumors spread that the 60,000 residents soon would be moved forcibly to a new township for blacks. The government has denied the rumors, but that didn't stop the unrest. Police fired buckshot, tear gas, and bullets into crowds of several thousand blacks who were using stones, slings, and gasoline bombs. At least 10 people have been killed so far and about 200 injured. The people of Western Sudan have lost everything. The land has turned to desert, and if they want to live, they have to leave. Getting out, though, is a cruel struggle for those people. Brian Stewart met one group of refugees in the midst of a vicious sandstorm.
To famine refugees, the sandstorm is yet one more misery, and still another indication that the desert is winning. For days, this vast storm has been battering much of Western Sudan, already an area of intense hunger. There may be 2 million refugees caught up in this storm as they plod south in search of food and shelter. In some areas, the international relief effort has been brought to a virtual standstill. Here near the Sudan-Chad border, refugees say they've never seen weather so vicious. No rain for 2 years, and now this. While the actual Sahara Desert is moving southwards at about 1 meter a day, this fringe area, or near desert, is actually growing far faster. The land around here has been simply devastated. The people here are under no illusions. They say they are going for good and they will not be coming back. The land, they say, is useless, it's finished, it's now a desert. Most relief agencies try to avoid panic, fight to keep people near their lands. For as each new area is given up, the desert moves in even faster. Soil flees before sand. But even the most determined sometimes wonder if it's a losing battle in marginal areas like this.
It needs a lot of afforestation, a lot of trees have to be planted, land has to be protected, the numbers of livestock have to be controlled. There are so many things to do, and where to start.
The immediate priority is to feed as many as possible of those who've lost everything. In El Janina, near the border with Chad, mothers and small children are led into UN feeding tents for at least an hour's break from the storm. It's awful out there, the winds. Who can live in such a desert? Says a woman who's had a lifetime of hardship. So this latest misery compounds that of drought and famine. Those fleeing are literally sandblasted for days on end. And like so many of the millions now displaced by famine, few here have any idea where they're fleeing to or how they'll survive when they get there. Brian Stewart, CBC News, in El Janina, Western Sudan.
And that's the National for Tuesday, February 19th. For CBC News, I'm Knowlton Nash. We'll have more news later. Now, the Journal.